Your dog didn't simply vanish into nothingness when they died. Through my decades of exploring the collective unconscious and the archetypal realm, I discovered something that will fundamentally alter how you understand the soul of the animal who loved you. And what I'm about to share isn't sentimental comfort for pet loss. It's documented psychological and spiritual truth about consciousness that continues beyond death regardless of species. During my years of active imagination, dream analysis, and exploration of the collective unconscious, I encountered something the rational mind refuses to accept. Animal consciousness, particularly that of dogs who've bonded deeply with humans, doesn't cease at death. Instead, these beings transition into the archetypal realm, where they continue a form of existence that serves purposes far beyond what we've been conditioned to believe. What's happening to your departed companion right now, in this very moment, might completely shatter your assumptions about the nature of soul, the reality of the collective unconscious, and the cosmic architecture that binds all conscious beings together. The implications reach far beyond pet loss. They touch the very foundation of what I spent my life discovering about the psyche, about archetypes, and about the eternal patterns that govern all existence. The death of a beloved dog creates a wound that often surprises us with its intensity. We tell ourselves it's just an animal, yet the grief feels as profound as losing a human family member. Perhaps that's because, as I discovered through my psychological research, the bond touches archetypal layers of the psyche that exist far deeper than our conscious awareness can fathom. During my work with patients, I was asked repeatedly about dreams of departed animals, about synchronistic encounters that suggested continued existence, about the psychological reality of bonds that seemed to transcend death itself. What I discovered challenges both religious orthodoxy and materialist reductionism about the nature of consciousness and soul. I must tell you something that took me years to understand. Consciousness exists on a spectrum within what I called the collective unconscious. This isn't some abstract philosophical concept. It's a psychological reality I observed thousands of times through dream analysis, active imagination, and the study of archetypal patterns that emerge across all cultures and all times. When a dog dies, especially one who has formed deep bonds with humans, their consciousness doesn't simply extinguish like a candle flame. Instead, these beings transition into the archetypal realm, that layer of reality I spent my entire career mapping, where they continue a form of existence appropriate to their level of psychological development. But here's where it gets profoundly interesting, and I need you to truly hear this. The nature of their afterlife experience is directly influenced by the depth of psychological and spiritual connection they experienced during physical life. Your dog wasn't just biologically programmed to respond to you. They were participating in archetypal patterns of loyalty, unconditional love, and presence that exist eternally in the collective unconscious. Every moment they spent with you, every instance of loyalty, every time they sensed your emotional state and responded with comfort, they were not merely behaving instinctively. They were embodying archetypes: the faithful companion, the unconditional lover, the guardian, the healer. These are eternal patterns that existed before your dog was born and will continue after you die. When these animals pass from physical form, they enter what I can only describe as the archetypal dimension of the collective unconscious. This isn't heaven in the Christian sense, nor is it simply extinction as materialists claim. Think of it as the realm where eternal patterns exist, where the essence of what your dog represented continues in a form that transcends individual biological existence. The psychological mechanics here are crucial. Consciousness never simply disappears, it transforms. It moves from personal consciousness to the collective unconscious, from individual form to archetypal essence. Your dog's individual personality, yes, that fades, but the archetypal energy they carried, the patterns they embodied, these return to the eternal realm where all such patterns originate and continue. I have been asked directly by patients whether we would reunite with our animals after death. My answer, based on what I observed through psychological analysis and my own experiences with the collective unconscious, is both comforting and complex. Yes, reunion occurs, but not in the literal way our conscious mind imagines. The consciousness that was your dog continues to exist in the archetypal realm. The bond you formed created a participation mystique, a psychological connection that transcends individual ego boundaries. This connection doesn't sever at death, it transforms. It becomes part of the eternal patterns within the collective unconscious that connect all beings who have ever loved, who have ever bonded, who have ever participated in the archetypal relationship of human and animal companion. Here's something most people never consider, and it troubled me for years before I understood it. What if your dog's entire physical life with you was itself an archetypal manifestation? What if that soul incarnated specifically to help you encounter aspects of the collective unconscious you needed to integrate? That rescue dog that appeared during your deepest depression, was that random chance? That elderly dog you adopted in their final years, giving them comfort when no one else would? Did you choose them? Or did something deeper, something archetypal orchestrate that meeting? In my decades of analytical work, I observed that nothing in the psychological universe is accidental. Souls, human and animal, are drawn together by archetypal patterns that our conscious minds rarely perceive. Your dog may have incarnated into physical form for the specific purpose of helping you encounter the archetype of unconditional love when your psyche desperately needed that encounter. Unconditional acceptance when you felt worthless. Presence when you were fragmented by neurosis. Loyalty when you'd experienced betrayal. Simple joy in existence when you'd forgotten that such a state was even possible. These aren't trivial emotional experiences. These are encounters with eternal archetypal realities that heal the psyche at its deepest levels. If this is true, and my research strongly suggests it is, then your dog wasn't your possession. They were your psychological healer, your guide to aspects of the collective unconscious you couldn't access alone. And their departure isn't an ending, but a transformation, both for them and for you. Let me explain something I discovered that will change how you understand where your dog exists right now. The archetypal realm isn't geographically separate from our physical dimension. It's not up there in some celestial location. The collective unconscious interpenetrates physical reality at every point. It's here now, occupying the same space as your physical body, but existing at a different level of psychological reality. Your departed dog's consciousness exists right now in the archetypal dimension that interpenetrates this physical world, but operates according to psychological laws our ego consciousness cannot directly perceive. They haven't gone far. They've shifted from personal consciousness to archetypal existence. The bond of love you created together, what I called participation mystique, acts as a psychological bridge that allows continued connection, though not in ways our rational ego mind can verify. This is where my teachings become practically transformative, and I need you to truly understand this. Departed animal consciousnesses continue to exist as archetypal presences in the collective unconscious. When you think of your dog with genuine love, not with desperate ego clinging that tries to preserve their individual form, but with authentic love that honors their transformation, that energy registers in the archetypal realm. Your continued love doesn't trap them in some liminal state. Rather, it serves as psychological nourishment that supports the archetypal patterns they now embody. But there's a challenging truth here too, and I never shied away from difficult truths in my work. Just as your psychological state affected your dog during their physical life, your psychological development now influences the nature of your continued archetypal connection. If you're psychologically stagnant, living unconsciously, dominated by shadow elements you refuse to integrate, that dissonance affects everything in your psychological field, including your connection to archetypal presences that once manifested in your life. If you're individuating, engaging in the difficult work of becoming conscious, integrating shadow material, aligning with your true self, you strengthen all your archetypal connections. Your dog isn't watching you from some afterlife keeping score, but the psychological mechanics of the collective unconscious mean that what you become affects the quality of your connection to all archetypal realities, including the presence that once manifested as your beloved companion. I also discovered something about animal consciousness in the longer archetypal arc that will either fascinate or disturb you. Consciousness within the collective unconscious continually seeks higher expression. For animal souls who have developed through close contact with humans, this might eventually lead to opportunities for continued evolution through the eternal patterns that govern all psychic development. This isn't reincarnation in the simplistic sense that popular mysticism teaches. Your dog won't immediately become a human baby. But the archetypal energy that developed through being your dog, through embodying loyalty, presence, and unconditional love, that energy continues to participate in the eternal patterns of psychological evolution within the collective unconscious. Think about the implications. Truly think about them. The being you loved as your dog is continuing to exist as an archetypal presence in dimensions of reality I spent my entire career mapping. What they embodied through loving you, through being present, through serving the archetype of the faithful companion, that becomes eternally integrated into the collective unconscious itself. And simultaneously, what you learn through loving them becomes part of your individuation process. You were mutual participants in archetypal patterns, meeting in physical form to exchange psychological wisdom that serves eternal purposes within the collective unconscious. If you're someone who's loved and lost a dog, take a moment right now, not later, right now, and honestly assess something. Did you individuate through that relationship? Did your dog help you integrate shadow material, access aspects of your true self you'd been cut off from, become more psychologically whole? If so, then that psychological work continues to operate in you right now, shaping your individuation process in this very moment. The relationship didn't end. It transformed from physical manifestation to archetypal reality. The love didn't die. It became eternal by virtue of the psychological transformation it catalyzed in both beings. But here's where we need to get uncomfortable, because I never allowed my patients to rest in comfortable illusions. Are you honoring what they taught you, or did you learn presence and unconditional love from your dog only to immediately return to neurosis, shadow dominance, and ego inflation once they died? Did they successfully model loyalty and authentic being only for you to continue living inauthentically, dominated by persona, cut off from your true self? The psychological challenge isn't just whether you'll reunite with your dog in some afterlife. It's whether you're individuating, whether you're becoming conscious, whether you're actually integrating the archetypal wisdom they embodied instead of just being temporarily affected by their presence. If this is hitting hard, it should. Individuation isn't comfortable. It's not about feeling good about ourselves. It's about becoming conscious, integrating shadow material, aligning with the true self that existed before your ego was formed and will continue after your ego dissolves. Your dog's archetypal journey continues in the collective unconscious. The question that should keep you awake tonight is, does yours? Are you individuating? Or are you psychologically stagnant, running the same neurotic patterns, living the same unconscious existence, waiting for death to magically transform you while doing nothing to become conscious right now? We're actually surrounded by archetypal influences we rarely recognize. Departed loved ones existing as presences in the collective unconscious. Archetypes themselves manifesting through dreams, synchronicities, and encounters that the rational mind dismisses as coincidence. Even animal consciousnesses that remain connected to us through the participation mystique we established during physical life. Your departed dog exists in archetypal dimensions you cannot see with physical eyes, continuing to embody the eternal patterns they represented during life, and potentially still offering you psychological support through the deep connection you share in the collective unconscious. But you have to be conscious enough to perceive it. You have to be individuating at a level that allows such connection. If your life is dominated by unconscious materialism, by ego inflation, by psychological sleepwalking, you're essentially cut off, unable to access the deeper layers of the collective unconscious where such archetypal presences continue to exist and influence the psyche. The truth I discovered through decades of psychological analysis: the afterlife isn't a fixed destination, but a continuation of individuation that begins now in physical life with every choice you make. Your dog is experiencing that continuation in the archetypal realm, Are you experiencing it in yours, or are you psychologically stagnant, running the same neurotic loops, living the same unconscious patterns, waiting for death to magically transport you to some better place while doing nothing to become conscious right now? Consider how your dog lived. They didn't wait to love you until conditions were perfect. They didn't withhold presence until you deserved it. They didn't postpone authenticity until achieving some future goal. They loved now, lived now, were present now. That wasn't simple animal instinct. That was archetypal wisdom, eternal patterns, embodied in physical form to teach you what your ego consciousness had forgotten. What they knew instinctively, you must learn consciously through the difficult work of individuation. The eternal now is where psychological development occurs, not in reminiscing about the past, not in fantasizing about future reunions, but in how you engage with this moment. If you want to honor your departed dog, truly honor them, not in sentimental ways, but in psychologically authentic ways, then integrate what they taught you. Become more present, love more unconditionally, serve the archetypal patterns of loyalty, authenticity, and wholehearted engagement with existence that your dog modeled every single day. That's not just nice philosophy. That's how you individuate. That's how you become conscious. That's how you align with the eternal archetypal patterns that govern both physical and psychological reality. And it's how you strengthen the participation mystique, the soul bond that transcends death itself. And here's something that will either comfort or disturb you depending on your current psychological state. Your dog knows whether you're doing this, not in some conscious way. Animals don't carry human ego structures, even in the archetypal realm, but through the collective unconscious itself, through the archetypal patterns you both participated in, there is a kind of knowing that transcends individual consciousness. The archetypal presence that was your dog perceives through the collective unconscious whether the psychological work they facilitated is bearing fruit in your individuation process. Are they? Can you honestly say that loving your dog made you more conscious, more individuated, more psychologically whole? Or was it just a pleasant experience that ended, leaving you essentially unchanged, still dominated by the same shadow material, still living unconsciously, still failing to individuate? The most profound psychological truth in my work on departed animals is this: love is the fundamental force of individuation. The love you shared with your dog wasn't a temporary emotional state. It was participation in an eternal archetypal pattern that altered both of you at the deepest psychological levels. That love continues to exist in the collective unconscious because genuine archetypal connection is eternal. It doesn't depend on physical proximity or biological continuation, but love also demands individuation. It calls us toward consciousness. It refuses to let us remain psychologically stagnant while claiming to honor the bond. Your dog's consciousness is existing right now in archetypal dimensions, embodying eternal patterns within the collective unconscious. It's not waiting, it's not static, it's participating in the eternal dance of archetypal realities that I spent my life mapping. The question that should pierce your psyche right now is, are you doing the same? Are you individuating? Are you becoming conscious? Are you integrating the shadow material your dog helped you see? Are you becoming psychologically aligned with the archetypal wisdom of presence and unconditional love your dog embodied? Or are you psychologically sleepwalking through life, assuming there's always more time, always a later opportunity to begin the work of becoming conscious? There's something I emphasized repeatedly throughout my career that applies here. We're not meant to just believe psychological truths intellectually. We're meant to live them, to test them through experience, to let them transform how we actually exist in the world. The teachings about animal souls continuing in the archetypal realm aren't meant to just make you feel better about pet loss. They're meant to wake you up to the reality that consciousness, all consciousness, human and animal, participates in eternal archetypal patterns that obligate us to live more consciously than we've been living. So here's your moment of truth. The question I'm leaving you with, the inquiry you cannot escape if you're being psychologically honest. If your departed dog could communicate one message to you from the archetypal dimensions they now inhabit, what would they say? Would they say, well done, you integrated what I taught you, you're individuating, you're becoming conscious? Or would they say, you learned nothing, you're still trapped in the same neurotic patterns, psychologically asleep, while claiming to miss me? You know the answer in the depths of your own psyche, beneath all the ego defenses and rationalizations. You know whether you're truly honoring what they taught you or whether you're psychologically stagnant despite having been loved by a being who embodied archetypal truth with every breath they took. Your departed dog's consciousness continues its existence in archetypal dimensions. The unbearable question is, does yours? Are you individuating, or are you psychologically dying while biologically alive? This is where psychological truth meets existential reality. I didn't develop these teachings so you could feel momentarily comforted about pet loss. I brought through these truths from decades of research to wake you up to the eternal nature of the collective unconscious, the archetypal patterns that govern all existence, and the urgent necessity of individuation while you're still in physical form. Your dog understood these truths instinctively through their participation in eternal archetypal patterns. It's time you understood them consciously and lived accordingly through the difficult work of becoming conscious. Is the life you're living right now aligned with individuation? Would the archetypal presence that loved you as your dog recognize you as someone who integrated their teachings? Or would they perceive you through the collective unconscious as psychologically unchanged? Don't answer me. Answer yourself. Answer the deeper layers of your psyche that know truth when they encounter it. The parts that can't be deceived by comfortable ego illusions or postponed commitments to become conscious. Your dog's soul is existing in archetypal dimensions within the collective unconscious. The love you shared created an eternal participation mystique, but eternal archetypal bonds demand continual individuation. Make your choice right now about whether you're going to honor that bond through genuine psychological transformation or dishonor it through continued unconscious living. The archetypal realm isn't waiting for you to arrive someday after death. It's interpenetrating this moment, and the consciousness that was your beloved companion exists in those dimensions right now. The question that should prevent you from sleeping comfortably tonight is, what is the current psychological state of your soul? Are you individuating? Are you becoming conscious? Are you integrating shadow material? Are you living in alignment with archetypal patterns of authenticity, presence, and unconditional love? Is your psyche worthy of the love you were given? Are you living in ways that honor the teacher who came to you in the form of a dog? This is your wake-up call to begin the work of individuation, not someday, right now. What are you going to do with this moment?